Hey guys, welcome to a quick video tutorial on how to do kind of like a bail wrap for your brios. I have an example here that I'm going to show you. It suspends the briolettes in the most cool way. And so it also adds a little bit of metal to your design. So you can bring in copper, silver, you can bring in bronze, whichever color kind of brings out the dimensions of your stone that you'd just like to work with. And I'll show you how to string it. First how to make the bail and then how to string it, and then we'll finish one together. I was also thinking I'll demo with the 3 different major shapes of brios that I have with me currently, which were the heart shapes, the pear shapes, and the pyramid. All the same method, just a little extra thing to think about with the pyramid. So let's get started. All right, so what you will need in addition to your briolette stones, and here on the mat I have the heart brios, pear brios, and the pyramid brios. And in each case, the method is the same, but you might want to see just, the height of the stone on the top makes a little bit of a difference to the height of the bail. But that said, it is really forgiving, and you can also adjust it after you've made the connector, the little bail connector. So I'm going to show you all of that. What you're going to need is wire that is either German style or craft wire. I'm working with craft wire in 2 different colors currently. I've got silver and I've got a vintage bronze, and I brought the vintage bronze over because I thought, how cool would this look? That color together. So I might show a different version, but in the version that you see here, I did use the silver color. I wanted to point out also that it is possible in some cases that a 22 gauge will work, but I can't say that it'll work for all of them. Like some of the brios I was able to get 22 through and others not, and you do not want to force it. The stones they're delicate and they're very beautiful, but you don't want to chip the little point on them because that's part of their charm. So I would just err on the side of caution if you're trying to decide and just go with 24 gauge. But that said, I did use 22 gauge on just a few of them here in the center when I was first getting started, before I ran into a few that I couldn't get it through. So I switched down, and I don't think it's super noticeable that I've used 2 different gauge wires here. These are the 22s, and you can see these are the 24s. So, you can make it work with what you've got is what I'm trying to say. So first I'm going to grab about 2.5 inches, and let's talk about tools. Starting with my nylon jaw pliers, I'm just going to go ahead and smooth out a little bit of that wire. Okay, so the nylon jaw pliers just take out all the little bends in your wire. It's very helpful. And be careful not to put new bends in it. I often do that. Okay. And measure about 2.5 inches. And I found that to be the case for most of the brios. If you want to go to 3, you can go to 3, but 2.5 should really do it. And you're going to need, in this case, some flush cutters. Okay. And so here we go. It's 2.5 to 3 inches long, 24 gauge wire. Starting with the heart brio, go ahead and slide it to the middle. So we're working just at the middle of the strand we just cut. And then what I like to do is just gently hold everything kind of in my fingers. So to see how much overlap I've got I'm protecting the point of my stone. And I'm just going to fold it up. Let's make sure it still has some wiggle on it. And what you're going to go for now is to have about 1 inch between where the wire is going through your stone and the top where we're going to trim. And that will give you a really good measurement for the next tool I'm going to show you. So we're at 1 inch right about there. So let me mark that spot with my finger. I'm going to trim that. Okay, make the other side match it. All right. So just like that. And now we're going to get bail or stepped bail forming pliers. So I'm going to work with the smallest setting on it. start with one of the sides, it doesn't matter which one. Try to keep your stone suspended in the center. And roll forward. So you're going to bring this around the small bail. When you get to the place on your tool where it starts to form a coil and this little pokey part is starting to overlap, try to keep it toward the inside. So just like that. And roll it down until you have about 3 coils and or the tail is hidden at the back. So it should look like this. And you see the little part that's trimmed is at the back, so it's not visible when we wear our piece. All right, so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And it's only a little trickier because of the way, if you're right-handed, in the way you hold your pliers, rolling one direction versus the other is a little easier for me. So what I do is I flip it in my hand so that this is on my right-hand side. Still making sure that my stone is staying in the center and being careful with that. And I'll actually really just hold that all in position with my fingers. And now let's take the bail forming pliers, and this time you're going to want to put the small step toward you because we're going to roll toward ourselves. It's a little awkward, but it was really the only way I could figure to get those coils going the same direction. So just keep going. And again, trying to keep the coil going toward the inside so that those are facing each other on the inside. So what you're seeing right now here is the back side of the bail. All right, let's line them up. Go ahead and bring the small step through both. Make sure your stone can still move and everything is good there. Once you're happy with it, then you're going to need some fine point chain nose pliers. And the fine point are handy for doing coil alignment. And then if you didn't get this little spot right here, did not get pushed down, very carefully next to your stone, just try to push it down. I'm going to do the same thing on that side, even though that side's pretty good. You can also use your bail forming pliers to do it, just like that. So coils on the back look great to me. I'm going to flip it over and make sure I'm happy with my coils on the front. Literally doing this on the tool. And I'm being really careful and moving really slow. And there we go. So that is basically, in a nutshell, how to make one of the little bails. And let's make another one, and then I'm going to show you how to string. Let's make another one now with, let's switch to some bronze, and let's make one with other shape. All right, so I'm going to cut between 2.5 and 3 inches and still working with 24, but I've just switched colors now. And just right about there. Okay, and then we're going to need to get the nylon jaw pliers again, and I'm just going to go ahead and straighten those out. So that wire is nice, easy to work with. If you're going to be making a lot of these, I would suggest cutting all the little pieces first. So you could, right now at this point, take and just measure using the one you just made. And go ahead and cut another one. And then I'll just set that one aside for now. We'll work with that one next. Okay. So again, I'm going to bring the stone onto the wire and find my midpoint. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm protecting the top of my stone with my hands, my fingers. I'm just going to fold that upward so the stone is sitting like that. Measuring about 1 inch from where the wire is going through the brio to the top. So roughly right there. I'm just going to mark it with my finger and come along and trim that. And we'll copy what I did on the other side. Okay, so now we're ready to create the loopy part again. Starting with the right hand side and the small step going away from me, I'm going to roll forward away from myself, and I'm going to keep this coil heading toward the inside. And I'm going to just go ahead and make sure I flatten down that end at this spot here. You can do that. Just keep rolling forward until you get to right about there. And one way you can tell you got there is you'll start to see the little tail. Click on the other side. Go ahead and flip this around. And then flip your tool. So the small step is pointing toward you. And now roll toward yourself. Keep this flush as you can here at the top. Right, so it's gonna be easiest to coil. And try to keep that coil headed on the inside of the bail. And we're viewing the bail from the back side here. So when we start to see this little end, we know we've reached the spot where we want to stop. Then I'll just bring the pliers right through. Okay, and then that same thing again, I'm going to just, if needed, not always needed, but just straighten out the coils on one side. And that looks pretty good actually, but I'll straighten them out. And if you do that right on the tool, you actually have a really secure grip on those coils. You're less likely to slip and chip your stone. So that in a nutshell is how to do that. It goes fast once you get going, and you can achieve some pretty good consistency, I feel like. So let's do one more with the next size brio. I want to show you how to do this one. And the pyramid brio, one thing that I kind of wish I had done on my other necklace, and I'll show you why here in a second, is I noticed that on some of them, they have a side that's more domed than the other. So I'm not sure which side is intended as the front, and I think it's kind of up to you what you like. But there's definitely like a pointiness to the back. See, kind of like that. So one side will lay flat, and one side will lay a little bit less flat. It's going to kind of angle itself that way or that way, right? On my necklace, my finished one, I made the flat side my front. So when it's on, it probably won't matter, but when it's laid down for display, I notice this kind of pops up a little bit. So if you felt like it, you could make that side the front, and it might. I didn't do that here. You can see it's my back, but it does lay a lot flatter if you're going to do some photography and stuff like that. Maybe make this the front. That said, I kind of feel like I like this look, so you really can't go wrong. I don't know. I'm torn about it still, but yeah, it looks really nice either way. But just a thought, you can kind of see that maybe we can adjust the bail to make it stay pointing the direction we want. So, but yeah, so let's go ahead and make one more bail. So I still have that wire we cut earlier. I'm gonna make it a little bit easier to work with by using my nylon jaw pliers. Okay, and then just keeping in mind the little note I gave you a moment ago about what side's front or back. Let's do this side as the back. Or no, let's do this side as the front. Sorry, I misspoke there. So I'm going to make the pointy side the front, just so I can see two different methods there. And then I'm going to do the same thing we did before, where we hold it, bring it to the midpoint, and just kind of hold the stone as you bring the wires up to meet each other here at the top. So just like that. Still move. Looks good. Okay. And let's measure 1 inch from where the wire is going through the stone. So right about there. Okay. And then I'm just going to copy that on this side. And get those bail pliers. Let me even that out actually. I feel like it needs to be There we go. Okay. All right. So we're going to just go ahead and roll now with the small part of the plier. Roll it forward, keeping the coil on the inside. Okay, and so one thing to note when you have a really high peak on your Brio, so on these other two, the peaks were pretty low relative to the height of my veil. Just naturally that happened for me. On this one, I need to think about it because it's a lot pointier. So on this one, I'm going to stop right here because I don't want my coils to come down any lower than the point of my stone. So let's move this over to the right. And we'll flip the tool over and roll toward ourselves. Again, I'm keeping that coil toward the inside. And if you want to try to flatten it down with your pliers while you're here, that can be handy. The little tail spot there. Okay. And now I've met the spot where it was. So let's do that. Slide that over. Here we go. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to string it really quick. This is where the seed beads come in. Depending what color you're working on, I was going for, on this design, I thought it looked so pretty to put the green seed bead inside of the purple veil. And then I did a purple seed bead in the green stones veil. And so I'm probably going to keep that convention going for what I have here. But then I could do either here. So I feel like, gosh, even the blue. This is, I'm using the palette from Art Deco, I believe. Here's the number for it. It's 8176 if you've got that handy. Or you can look it up in the app. Okay, so ooh, I like this. I thought this was bronze. It's gold. It's still gonna work though. I like that. But I could go with the purple. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm gonna get some beading wire. Now you can, if you want, use any beading wire. So the fine beading wire is totally great because it strings the brios themselves. And we were doing that in the class that we had last week where we did the Southwestern design. But the fine soft flex was very essential for going through the actual stone. But because we're going to be using a bail now, that frees us to use any size beading wire that we want. So we can head up to a different size, or we can stick with the fine, whichever works for you. I'll probably stick with the fine just because that's what I have here. But that said, I wanted to make sure and point out you can use other ones. Okay, and I'm going to work from my spool. And I'm just going to show you guys how I did the stringing for each of these sizes. So, you know what I did first is I actually worked from the center out. So I strung the first of the briolettes, and then I just kind of worked the brio center. So let me show you on the finished one here. Sorry, it's coming over. Okay. What I did is I worked this part first. So I worked from here around to here, and then I actually cut it free and started adding beads. And I'm not done adding beads here. I'm going to keep going before putting on a little clasp at the end. I'm going to do the same thing here because that worked out really well for me. So let's start with one of the gold seed beads. And you just need one per bail, depending on how you want to space it. Oh, and that's the other thing. I'm going to grab more of these little stones here because those became my space between each of my bails. Again, you could use anything. So let's see. The bead that I have is 4 millimeters, and it's a little amethyst gemstone 4 millimeter. I'm going to grab those. And so let's get 5 of them so I can do a complete lineup of these. Okay. So first you'll want to string what's going to be one of your interest beads. That's going to space your bail. And there we go. So string that on. And let's work with this one first right here. If you can, try to turn your seed bead on its side. So like that. And you can put your bail around it like that. And just bring your beading wire through all of them. So just like that. And then what I did on my design is I just very gently pushed them together a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit. Do it with your fingers and be really gentle about it. And it will still have motion, but your seed bead will be nice and snuggly there. Okay, and then grab another bead. And this is our spacer. Okay, and so you can see how it is starting to hang. You can do as few or as many of these as you like. So just like that. Now let's string another one, and now let's grab another color seed bead. Let's go for purple. Actually, you know, I think I'm just going to stick with gold because they are already here and ready to go for me. There we go. So stringing just like that. If it tips over on you, that's okay. You can bring your wire through like this and then just string it like that. And then what I do is I'll just bring it down to sit back in between where I want it and just adjust the beading wire to go right back through. And I'm going to push these together a little bit more. And there we go. There's the next one. Oh, that is pretty. Look at that. It's an interesting combo of colors. Alternatively, if you want, you can space these bails out further from each other. Just whatever looks good to your eye. Maybe by putting 2 beads, or you could put a seed bead, a bead, and a seed bead. Let's string this on there. Let's grab another seed bead right here. Bring that down. And let's grab the next interest bead. If I can find that. There we go. All right. And there is how you do it. And so they all have some nice wiggle to them. They're all really pretty. Now I didn't actually work with my turquoise. Sorry, this is a chrysoprase, I believe it was. I keep calling it turquoise just because that's the color it looks like. But the chrysoprase is going to look amazing with the bronze. And so I'm planning to work a whole design like that to supplement this and hopefully post a really beautiful photo in Gem Chat, because that just needs to happen, right? Bronze or copper? I feel like that could either go. Okay, but let's go ahead and switch to a finished design that we can put our crimp on and say is complete. All right, so I'm ready to put the clasp on. Let me show you what I did really quick with this beautiful design. So I went ahead and finished to my desired length all of my brios, and then I added gemstones as a chain, going all the way to the length I wanted. And now I need to put on a cute little clasp. So let me go ahead and find my little toggles. All right, so I've got some 2x2 crimps, and I've got a little cute toggle in silver, and I've got some jump rings, 6mm oval. And let's just finish each of the ends. Let me get my crimps ready. And I'm going to start by putting a stop bead on one of these little stoppers on one side. And then with the other one, let's get on a crimp. And I'm going to prepare my toggle with a jump ring. You could go directly onto your toggle if you'd like. I think I'm going to give mine a little air. So let's open up this jump ring and pop on our toggle, and let's close it. And close that nice and tight, and we'll put that through beading wire here. And then I'm going to bring my crimp bead, oops, bring my beading wire back through my crimp bead this direction. So roughly about like that. And then I'm just going to pull this side to tighten, leaving about that much air on it. Here's where you're going to need a new tool we haven't introduced yet, and they're just a basic crimping plier, or in my case, I have some pointy crimping pliers that are multi-stepped. And I'm just going to go ahead and crimp that. Okay. There we go. So that side is good. I'm going to slide one bead up. See about where I need to trim. Okay. I like to leave the beading wire going through just one bead on the side. Let's see if that height works. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's slide everything down to meet that on that side. Everything's looking really flowy and good here for my necklace. So pretty. Okay, I'm gonna get my toggle ready. I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 jump rings on here just to give it a little bit of wiggle. Sorry about that, it's off camera. I'm gonna just put these two on. Okay, so there's 1 jump ring on. Here's the other one. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. And I'm going to make sure when I close this one that it's nice and tight. Okay. So let's go ahead and just set that here ready. And I'm going to remove the stopper. Let's get a crimp bead. And this time I'm going to let the crimp bead slide all the way down. I worked a little closer to my wire end on this side to give myself extra wiggle on this side. It's always a little tougher closing the second side than the first because your ability to tighten it is a little bit more limited. But what I like to do is I'll slide that crimp right down to meet my last bead and then bring my wire through that jump ring. And let's go ahead and go through the crimp bead here and the next bead. So go through both of those, okay? And then hold on to the side that's not moving. You can actually just hold the toggle bar if that's easier and bring it down to right about there. And now making sure the wires aren't crossed inside is a little tougher on the closing side, but you see how you can kind of see here. I'm just going to make sure everything's tight by sliding down. And then I know I've got that spot because I marked it a second ago with my thumbnail here, right? To keep this on that side. And there we go. Now I know I didn't have wire crossing inside my crimp because I just pinched it here like that in between the bead. And so that looks good. Let's go ahead and close it. I go really slow with my crimps, guys. I'm always afraid that I'm going to cross them or something will go wrong. I'm going to trim it right below the bead. That's all good. And I'm super, super happy with how that looks. And there it is. There's my necklace. It's really gorgeous. Yeah, I'm going to need to try this on. All right, let's try it on. So here it is, all finished. Super, super cute. And I'm just going to pop the toggle through. I'm really bad at that, but let's give it a try. And there is my Brio necklace. Let me bring the camera a little closer. You guys can see it. It looks really cool. Oh my God, I love this necklace. I really do. Okay. My new favorite thing is this necklace. And I hope you make your own new brand new favorite thing following this tutorial. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you for the next one.